Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to learn how to make the pants that you have just seen at the beginning of the video. So for the materials, you will need yarn. The yarn that I'm using is Seagull. It is 4-ply acrylic yarn, and I'll be doubling my strand to achieve a good thickness for my yarn. So for the amount or the yarn details or the amount of yarn that I use for the project, I'll be leaving everything on the screen so that you get the substitute of this. If you're using a DK weight yarn, then you don't need to double your strand. Just use one strand. And I needed 2 colors. So for this color, I used about 8 balls. And for this color, I used approximately 6 balls. This is my primary color or the main color of the project, the one that sits on the waistband. And yeah, this one is the secondary color. It's just on the strips. And then you will also need, this one I used 6 balls, this one 8 balls. And yeah, I'll be leaving the amounts on the screen. And then you will also need a 4mm crochet hook, a darning needle, a pair of scissors, and a measuring tape. This is a must. And then you also need a small notebook and a pen. And these are to take some calculations before we get started on the project. So let's jump right into the tutorial. If you would like the written pattern, it's available on all my online shops, and you can find all the links in the description box below. In this image, it's paired with a braided rope crochet top that already has a written pattern as well as a tutorial on my channel. And you can even go ahead and accessorize your pants using the flowers, as you can see at the top right corner. To start off, you're going to figure out how long you want your pants to be. So for me, I'm considering from the waistline, the upper waistline to the feet. And I started off with a total of 98 chains, but this can differ depending on your height because you may be shorter or taller. So all you have to do is make sure that you have an even number of chains. So for me, I will start with 98 chains, and this will be my starting chain. Because the pants are worked vertically. Another thing that we're going to figure out is our hip circumference. So the hip circumference that I'm considering for this particular design is 40 inches. And whatever number that you have here, you're going to divide that number by 2. For me, that will be a total of 20 inches. And this is our magic number that we're going to consider. So we're going to get our calculator and we're going to do some calculations. So we're going to get this number that we got after dividing our hip circumference by 2. So 20 divided by 7. So we are introducing a new number here. So 20 divided by 7. This 7 here is the number of strips that we are going to have for our pants before we do the leg extensions in the middle, the crotch area, and all the shaping. So whatever number that you have here, divide it by 7. And you're going to get another number, which is 2.8. I'll consider 2.9 roughly because this is a 5. So 2.8, 2.9. I'm considering 2 numbers here. So I'll just round off and get a 2.9 here. So this is the number that I'm going to work with. This is how thick each strip is going to be for my pair of pants. And yeah, I think now we can get our crochet hook and our yarn and we start creating our panel. So as I had said earlier on, I'm going to be considering 98 chains for my starting chain, but for the sake of demonstration, we're going to start off with a total of 24 chains. So just for demonstration purposes, this is a little swatch of the mesh pattern that we're going to use for this design. I'm going to start off with a total of 24 chains, but do as long as you want your pants. This is our pants length, that one there, minus the waistband. This should be our pants length. This is going to be the length. Forgive my art, but this is just a quick demonstration. This is the length that we are considering. From up here all the way down, minus the waistband, which is supposed to be around 1.5 to 2 inches. So we are considering here all the way down. Make your chain that can fit into this measurement. So I'm getting my 4mm crochet hook and my very first color, which is blue. And I'm going to make my sample chain, which is a chain of 24. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So I have made 24 chains, but for the actual piece, I did a total of 98 chains. So you're going to go into the 6th chain from the hook. You're going to count from here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and into the 6th, you're going to place a double crochet. Just like that. And then make a chain of 1, skip 1 chain, and double crochet into the next chain. Make sure your foundation chain is not too tight because we are going into the chains again. And if you make your chain too tight, your very first row may be a struggle. So make a chain of 1, skip the next chain, and double crochet into the next chain. Chain 1, skip 1 chain, double crochet into the next chain. So you're going to repeat that all the way across. And since this is just a small sample, this is going to go by real quick. But for the actual pants, this is actually going to take some time before you get done with row 1. All right, so you're going to do your mesh pattern until you have a total of 2 chains left, as you can see, 1 and 2, and you're going to make a chain of 1, skip the second last chain, and into that very last chain, you're going to place a double crochet. So this marks the end of row 1. Row 2, you're going to make a chain of 4, which counts as a double crochet chain 1, turn your work, double crochet into the next stitch, chain 1, double crochet into the next stitch, chain 1, double crochet into the next stitch, and repeat that all the way across until you come towards the end of the row, and I'll show you how to wind up. All right, guys, we're coming to the end of row 2. As you can see, you're going to make a chain of 1 and skip over 1 chain here, and then double crochet into the next chain. So that marks the end of row 2. So as you keep working your rows, you're going to keep measuring this distance here. That one. So I'm considering inches. So right now I have about 1.5 inches when stretched. I'm considering these measurements when stretched because I want my pants to be perfectly fitted without any sort of sagging. But if you want it sagging, then you're going to consider this measurement without stretching. So for me, I'm considering when stretched, and I'm at about 1.7 inches. So remember this figure that we got here, the 2.9 or whatever you got after dividing half your hip circumference by 7. So 2.9, that's the figure that I'm aiming for at this point. So I'm going to keep working row 2 until I have 2.9 inches when stretched. Not fully, but I'm going to give it a good stretch. and I'll be back when I have the 2.9 inches. Chain 4, turn your work, 1 double crochet into the next double crochet, chain 1, double crochet into the next double crochet, chain 1, and repeat that all the way across. So remember, we are working with a small sample just because the actual sample will not fit in frame and may be a little bit confusing to watch because it's quite big. So this is just a small sample that you're going to follow to make your big pair of pants. So we've come to the end of row 3. You're going to make a chain of 1, skip over the next chain and double crochet into the next chain. Alright guys, I ended up doing a total of 4 rows of my blue color, and this gave me my 2.9 inches. As you can see here, we have a total of 2.2 inches, but when we stretch, we can go to 2.9, as you can see here. So do the number of rows required to get this number, this magic number here that you got after your calculations. If you have 3, if you have 3.5, make sure you consider this measurement when stretching your work. But if you want a loosely fitted pant, then you're going to consider this measurement without stretching your work. So for me, I'm stretching out because I want a perfect fitting for my pants. I can't emphasize this enough because so many people usually ask me when trying to recreate these designs and tell me, how about if I want a loose fitting or a tight fitting? So those are the little tweaks that you can play around in order to get a different effect for your pants. So it's now time for us to switch our color. Once you get the measurement that you need across, you're going to switch your color and you get your second color. So this is my primary color. This is the color that I'm going to use for my waistband. This is actually my main color for the pants. So the color for the waistband is the main color of your project. Keep that in mind. So yeah, this is what we have at the moment, and now we're going to switch onto our next color. At this point, you're going to make a chain of 1, and you're going to cut your yarn. After making your chain of 1, you're going to get a pair of scissors and cut your yarn, pull through, and that marks the end of our very first color. Now we are going to go ahead and attach our next color. To attach the next color, you're going to make a slip knot just like this, and you are going to attach your yarn where you left off your previous color. So in that stitch, insert your hook in that very final stitch of the previous color and pull through the loop and make a chain of 1. Make sure it's tight. This doesn't count as anything. It doesn't count as a chain or a stitch. Now at this point, you're going to make a chain of 4 and repeat row 2. So the chain of 4 counts as a double crochet, chain 1, and then double crochet into the next stitch, chain 1, double crochet into the next stitch, and you're going to repeat that all the way across. So the only difference here is we have switched colors, but the instructions for this row remain the same as row 2, and we're just going to keep growing our panel, repeating the same exact row until it can stretch to half of our hip circumference. So as you can see, we have a new color. Make a chain of 4, which counts as a double crochet, chain 1, turn your work, and double crochet into the next stitch, chain 1, double crochet into the next stitch. You should note that for this pattern, we are not placing any stitches in the chain 1 spaces. The stitches are placed in the double crochet stitches of the previous row. We are not placing anything in the chain 1 spaces, as you can see here. This is going to create a perfect mesh pattern. All right, so I'm going to keep growing my panel, and I'll be back. And in my next clip, I will be working with the actual piece, not this sample. I'll be working with the actual piece, and I'll let you know how many rows that I ended up doing. And yeah, we shall pick it up from there. All right, guys, remember this number here, number 7. This is a constant for each and every size because it's the number that we divided our half hip circumference with. So this 7 is the one that determines the number of strips that we are going to end up having. So this is our very first strip. We're going to do 4 rows of green, 4 rows of blue, 4 rows of green, 4 rows of blue, until we have a total of 7 strips for our one side of the pants. We are first working one side. We're working this piece in panels. So we're going to have 2 panels that are identical, but with 7 strips. So this is our very first panel. Call it the right leg. And then we shall do the same exact piece for the left leg, and then bring everything together to create this beautiful creation. All right, guys, so I have my rows ready. I have a total of 7 colors, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 of 4 rows each. And if I'm just to cross check, just to make sure this will fit, I have a total of 15 inches, but this should stretch to half your hip circumference. So you can see it stretches to 20 inches, which is half of 40. So after this, you're going to grab your next color. For me, I have blue on the edges. That means my next color is going to be the green color or the teal color. So you're going to get your measuring tape, and we're going to take a measurement on one side of our piece. I'm going to consider a total of 8 inches. All the way from up here, stretch your work a bit and consider 8 inches for size medium. If you're a size small, you're going to consider 7 inches and keep considering 1 inch upwards for the different sizes. Extra small, consider 7 inches. But for size medium, I'm considering 8 inches. Now, for all the other sizes, just check on the screen. I'll be mentioning how many inches you should consider when slightly stretching your work. You should notice that I'm not overstretching it like this. I'm just giving it a slight tug so that I mark where the 8th inch is. So get your stitch marker. My 8th inch is at this point. And you're going to mark it there. And then we're going to attach our yarn into that stitch that we just marked. So the distance here is the distance all the way from your waistline to your crotch. But also we are considering this distance without the waistband because we're going to attach a waistband to this design. So give it a room of about 2 inches for the waistband, or 1.5 inches for the waistband, and then from here all the way to where your legs split. That's the measurement that I'm considering. Then you're going to attach your yarn in the stitch that you just marked, and then make a chain of 4 and double crochet into the next double crochet. So we are going to go ahead and continue working the mesh stitch. Keep working the mesh pattern all the way to the end of the row. So right now, what we are doing right now is shaping the pants so that they can turn into functional pants that actually fit. So we are doing the leg splits as well as the middle shaping of the pants. So continue the mesh pattern until the end of the row, and I'll meet you back to show you how to work. I'll call these the short rows. So This is row 1 of the short rows because they're shorter than what we've been doing before. We've come to the end of the row, and you're going to make a chain of 1, skip the next chain and double crochet into the next chain. So this is what we have. We are now going on to row 2 of the short rows, and you start with a chain of 4, which counts as a double crochet chain 1, and turn your work, double crochet into the next, double crochet, and then chain 1, double crochet into the next double crochet. So keep creating the mesh pattern all the way across until towards the end of the row, and I'll show you how to wind up. So we've come to the end of the row, and you're going to make a chain of 1, skip 1 chain of the chain 4, skip that chain and double crochet into the next chain, just like that. Now we're going to keep working the mesh pattern, and we want a total of 8 rows in between for a size medium. Thankfully, I'm already doing 4 rows of each color, so I'm going to just continue to work 4 rows of green and 4 rows of blue of the short rows. As you can see, we don't go all the way to the end of the row. We are leaving out this space, and each row starts with a chain of 4, and then you turn your work and work the mesh pattern. You just go into the next double crochet with a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet into the next double crochet. That's all that we are doing, and I'll meet you back when I have my 8 rows, or whatever number that you need to make the middle extension. Now this number is going to differ depending on what size that you're making for, and I'll be recommending a number of rows that you should consider making according to what size that you're making for. So let me continue working mine, and I'll meet you back when I have it ready. Alright, so I'm through with my 8 rows. As you can see, the extension rows, these are the long rows, and then we reduce them to this length, and I have a total of 4 of green and 4 of blue. But do what you have to do in order to get the required number of rows for your size. And from here, we are going to fold over our work. So for me, it so happens that blue is meeting blue on the other side, and I'm going to make sure that when I'm working my pants, where blue meets blue, that will be the back side of my pants, as you'll see later on. Where blue meets blue will be the back side of my pants. So you're going to fold it over like this, and you're going to start joining from the base of the pants using a darning needle. So for the joining part, I'm going to use 1 strand of yarn so that it doesn't create a bulge while joining the panels together. I'm going to use a single strand. Remember, my main body is made using a double strand. So I'm going to go into the top of the chain 3 on each end, and I start joining the 2 panels together in order to form a tube. So just like that, we're going to start joining all the way up until where the short rows start from. So you go into the chain 1 space and join. Actually, we are joining the chain spaces, the chains in between the double crochet stitches. So you go into the double crochet stitch and then the chain on both ends, and then the double crochet, and the chain. So you're going to keep doing this all the way across until you get to this point here. You're going to leave this not joined because we have to join it onto our second panel. So join all the way from the base to where the chartreuse end. Alright guys, so I'm back to the end of the chartreuse, and once you're done here, you're going to just get rid of the loose end. You can just tie a knot, or you can decide to weave in your end. Just like that. And then I'm going to cut off the loose end, just like that. And we have something that looks like this. Now you can see what this is creating. And at the back side where blue met blue, I'm going to make sure this is the back side. So I'm going to make my second panel just as I have done this one. And that panel is here. Mine is here. I'm going to also make sure that where blue meets blue is the back side. So I'm going to place my work like this, so that the front side is where we have only 4 rows of each color, as you can see here. So we are going to join the 2 pieces together like this. So to do that, we are going to join from here all the way down to the extensions, and then all the way up to the back side. So I'm going to try to raise my camera so that it's not so zoomed in. I hope that's better. I think this will give us a better view of what's exactly happening. So we have 2 panels that are supposed to be joined. So you can see where the extension is on both pieces. We're going to join this one and this one all the way down to this side and all the way up. And to do that, you're going to have to make sure that you're on the wrong side of your work. So I'm going to flip over my work. I'm going to flip over my panel, just like this. And then I flip this one as well, just like this. And you can see now we're at the back side, because where blue meets blue, here we have 8 rows of blue and 8 rows of blue on this side. So make sure you're on the same side on both panels. And we're going to get our yarn blue. We're going to get our yarn, the same exact yarn as we have on the edge of our piece, and we're going to start joining, but this time we're going to use a single crochet stitch so that the middle section is firmly joined together. So you're going to grab your yarn and your hook, and we're going to start joining from here. So let me just put the panels on the table because they're quite heavy, and we're going to start joining that layer to the upper layer on this side. And what we are going to do is place 2 single crochets in each chain 1 space. So attach your yarn and start joining using 2 single crochets in each space. We are not going into the stitches, just go into each and every chain 1 space with 2 single crochets. All the way down until we get to the middle extension or the short rows of our panels. Okay, after placing 2 single crochets in each chain 1 space, this is what you will have. You can see the joining here. Now we've reached the middle extensions or the short rows of our panels, and we're just going to go ahead and join them as well, placing 2 single crochets in each and every row. So make sure you go into each row with 2 single crochets. Go into the next row, 2 single crochets. And you're going to repeat that until you make it across the middle extension, just like that. And then now we are going on to our next color. I'm not going to switch colors when joining the green part. I'll just use the same exact color. So going into each and every row with 2 single crochets. So we are done with the middle extension. Those rows that we extended, the short rows in the middle of the pants. Now we are going to go all the way up to the opposite side of the pants and join using 2 single crochets in each and every chain 1 space on the opposite side of the pants. So go into each chain 1 space with 2 single crochets. All right, so we are done, and let's see what we have right now. You can see the pants are fully formed, the middle section of the pants, and then the back seam. No, this is actually the front seam, and then this is the back seam line, and this is on the wrong side of the pants. When we turn it around onto the right side, we have a very clean finish, as you can see here. This is the seam line of our pants in the middle section and then to the opposite side. So from here, we are going to just flip over our pants onto the right side, because now we've been working this single crochet row on the wrong side. That's why it has created this bump, but this should be on the wrong side of the work. So just flip over your pants. Don't cut your yarn because you're still working on the waistband of the pants. Just flip it over onto the right side. Okay, so this is what you'll have, and this is where we've ended our single crochet row. We still have so many tails to weave in, so I'm going to just go ahead and weave in all the tails at the top of the pants, and I only leave the yarn that's still attached to the yarn ball, and it's the one that we're going to use to create the ribbing and the waistband of the pants. All right, so after cleaning up the loose ends on the top of the pants, this is what you'll have. And we are going to now clean up the top edge of the pants. You're going to make a chain of 1 and place 2 single crochets in each and every row around. We are just going into the rows, the double crochet spaces of each and every row with 2 single crochets. So single crochet around, placing 2 single crochets into each and every row using your main color. So for me, the main color that I'm using is blue. So this is what you'll have. You're going to do that all the way around until you come back to the beginning of the round. So we've made it all the way around, placing 2 single crochets in each and every row, and you're going to make a slip stitch into the very first single crochet of the round, and you should be having a very clean edge on top of your pants. So from here, you're going to make a chain of 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And this is going to be the thickness of the ribbing of the pants. So you're going to go into the second chain from the hook. 1, 2. Into that second chain, you're going to place 1 single crochet and then single crochet all the way down to the base of the pants, or to the body of the pants actually. Single crochet into each and every chain until you get to the body of the pants, and you should end up with a total of 9 single crochets. This is what you'll have, and then you're going to slip stitch in each of the next 2 stitches on the body of the pants, 1 and 2, and then you're going to turn your work and skip over the slip stitches and then go into the single crochet stitches on the ribbing and work a single crochet back loop only into each and every stitch. So for row 2 you should still have a total of 9 single crochets, but worked in the back loop only to create a ribbed effect for your pants ribbing. This is row 2. Row 3, you're going to make a chain of 1 and turn your work, single crochet back loop only in each of the 9 stitches. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So you should maintain the number of stitches. For each and every row, you will have a total of 9 single crochets. Then you're going to slip stitch in each of the next 2 stitches on the pants, and then turn your work. So we're just repeating rows 2 and 3 again and again until these pants can wrap, until the ribbing wraps around the upper opening of the pants. So you can see the ribbed effect starting to form. You're going to do that all the way around the upper opening of the pants until you come back to the beginning, and I'll meet you back at that point. All right, so we're coming to the end and we're still slip stitching twice onto the body of the pants, but this is how far we've come. We've gone all the way around the opening of the waistband, and I'm working my very last row. So from here, you're going to make a chain of 1 and cut your yarn, pull through, and you're going to get a darning needle and join the 2 sides together to form a round for the ribbing. So you're going to have something that looks like this. What we're going to do right now is join the 2 sides together. So join this part the best way possible. I'm just using a darning needle to join the 2 sides together, stitch to stitch. And then from here, you're going to just push your yarn onto the back side and weave in this tail. Then you're going to cut off the excess yarn. You're going to go ahead and weave in all the tails, all the remaining tails on your piece. Alright guys, this is what your waistband is going to look like on your pants. And if you still feel like this is still a little bit loose, we're going to go ahead and attach an elastic strand on top of the waistband of the pants. Alright guys, after creating your waistband, if you feel like this is still big, I'm going to go ahead and attach an elastic strand on top of the waistband. And to do that, I'm measuring approximately 8 inches less than the waist circumference of my pants. So my intended waist circumference is 26 inches minus 8 inches. I have a total of 18 inches without stretching the elastic strand. So I'm going to go ahead and make a knot just to make a round for my elastic strand. I'm going to just make a knot. There, just like that. And this elastic strand is supposed to fit around the waistband of our pants. So I'm going to make sure it's tight enough, and then I cut off the excess just like that. And I'm going to start joining everything together. So all right, so I'm going to get the same exact color as my boundary color, which is blue, and I'm going to work a single crochet round while weaving in the elastic strand on top of the round. All right, so we're going to go into each and every row with one single crochet while working around the elastic strand. This is going to help us gather the waistband in order to create a perfect fitting for our pants, as you'll see later on. So as you keep working your single crochet, you'll notice that the elastic strand is much smaller than the circumference of the pants at the moment. So when you're working your single crochet round, if you feel like you're running out of the elastic strand, you keep pulling on it so that it can start gathering the opening of the pants, but don't over pull it as well. So I'll record this whole part on camera so that you can see exactly what's happening. I notice so many people don't like the drawstring method, but I also don't mind it, so I usually use it for my designs. But for this one, I prefer to have the elastic strand method. So you can see what that is creating. I'm going to go all the way around. So you can see this. This is exactly what we want to create. So go all the way around, and I'll meet you back at the beginning of the round. All right, so we've come to the end of the round, and you're going to slip stitch into the very first single crochet of the round, just like that. And you're going to make a chain of 1 and cut your yarn. Just like that. And now you're going to get rid of the loose ends. I'm just going to tie a knot at the back of my pants and then cut off the excess yarn. And that's basically it. You're going to go ahead and weave in all your ends. You can see how we have gathered the waistband of our pants, as you can see here, compared to the circumference that we had in the beginning. We now have this, and this can stretch to the waistline circumference. So this is going to create a perfect fitting for your pants. And when we turn it around to the front side, this is exactly what we have. And you're going to go ahead and weave in all your ends, and let's see the final look of our pants. Alright guys, after weaving in all your ends, let's see the final look of our pants. If you enjoyed this tutorial, make sure you give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to check out the written pattern on all my online shops. I'll be leaving all the links in the description box below. And yeah, thanks for watching. I'll see you in my next one. Bye.